Have you ever stood in a crowded room, surrounded by people laughing and talking, yet felt completely alone? Or perhaps you've experienced that strange sensation of watching life unfold around you, as if you're observing it through a glass wall, seeing everything but somehow not fully participating in it? Maybe you've had moments where everyone else seemed to understand an unspoken social rule that somehow escaped you, leaving you feeling like you're from a different planet entirely. That persistent feeling of being disconnected from the world around you isn't as unusual as you might think. In fact, despite our hyperconnected modern society, or perhaps because of it, more people than ever report feeling fundamentally disconnected from others, from nature, and sometimes even from themselves. Today, we're going to explore this complex feeling of disconnection, where it comes from, what it might mean, and most importantly, how to bridge that invisible gap between yourself and the world you inhabit. By the end of our conversation, you'll not only understand your experience better, but you'll have practical tools to help you feel more connected, present, and engaged with life. Let's start by acknowledging something important. Feeling disconnected doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It doesn't mean you're broken or that you'll always feel this way. Often, it's a sign that something deeper is happening. Perhaps your consciousness is evolving in ways that temporarily create distance as you reorient yourself to life. The philosopher Martin Buber talked about how humans oscillate between two modes relating I-it and I-thou. In I-it relationships, we experience others as objects, as things separate from ourselves. In I-thou relationships, we experience genuine connection and presence with others. That feeling of disconnection often comes when we're stuck in the I-it mode, unable to break through to more meaningful I-thou encounters. Think about the last time you felt truly connected to someone or something. Perhaps it was during a deep conversation where time seemed to disappear. Maybe it was while walking in nature, feeling a profound sense of belonging to the world around you. Or perhaps it was a moment of creative flow where you felt aligned with something larger than yourself. These moments of connection exist for all of us. The challenge is that for many, they feel fleeting and rare rather than our natural state. So why might you consistently feel disconnected? There are several possible explanations, and often multiple factors contribute simultaneously. Let's explore some of the most common ones. First, we live in an age of unprecedented technological connection, but diminishing human connection. We scroll through carefully curated highlights of others' lives, message instead of meeting, and consume endless content instead of creating meaningful experiences. The average American spends over 7 hours daily on digital devices, hours that previously might have been spent in direct human interaction or engaging with the physical world. This digital life creates what sociologist Sherry Tickle calls being alone together, physically present but mentally elsewhere. We develop what she termed continuous partial attention, never fully present in any single moment or interaction. Over time, this fragments our experience and erodes our capacity for deep connection. Second, many people feel disconnected because of trauma or adverse childhood experiences. When we experience harm, especially early in life, our nervous system often protects us by creating distance, both from potential threats and from our own painful feelings. This protective disconnection helps us survive difficult situations, but it can persist long after the danger has passed. Psychologist Gabor Mate explains that trauma fundamentally involves disconnection from ourselves, our emotions, our bodies, and ultimately from others. The very adaptations that protect us in threatening situations become barriers to connection when they remain active in safe environments. If you have a history of trauma, your disconnection might be a lingering protective mechanism that serves an important purpose, but now limits your experience. A third common cause involves having a naturally different neurological setup from the majority. Neurodivergent individuals, including those with autism, ADHD, or highly sensitive temperaments, often experience the world differently from neurotypical people. When society is structured around neurotypical ways of perceiving and processing information, those with different neurologies can feel perpetually out of sync. For instance, if you're highly sensitive, you might notice subtleties and process experiences more deeply than others. This heightened awareness can create a sense that you're experiencing a different reality than those around you. Similarly, if you're on the autism spectrum, you might process social information differently, making unwritten social rules feel like an indecipherable code that everyone else somehow learned naturally. Beyond these factors, disconnection can also stem from philosophical or existential awareness. As the philosopher Soren Kierkegaard noted, the more conscious we become of our existence, the more we may feel separated from unconscious immersion in life. This sickness unto death, as he called it, creates a painful awareness of our separateness. Similarly, the existentialists describe the experience of confronting life's fundamental absurdity, the challenge of creating meaning in a universe that doesn't provide inherent purpose. This awareness can create a feeling of being estranged in a world, what Albert Camus called the outsider experience. If you've always felt different, if you question societal norms that others seem to accept without thought, or if you find yourself contemplating the deeper nature of existence, your disconnection might actually reflect a heightened consciousness rather than a flaw or failure. Sometimes disconnection emerges during times of personal transformation. During major life transitions or spiritual awakenings, we often experience a dark night of the soul, a period where old connections and identities fall away before new ones fully form. This in-between state can feel profoundly disorienting and lonely, yet it often precedes a deeper, more authentic way of being in the world. As author and spiritual teacher Eckhart Tolle describes it, some changes look negative on the surface, but you will soon realize that space is being created in your life for something new to emerge. Your disconnection might be the necessary space clearing for new growth. Understanding the potential sources of your disconnection is important, but equally important is recognizing what you can do to foster greater connection in your life. Let's explore some practical approaches that can help bridge the gap between you and the world around you. First, consider your relationship with technology. Digital connection often comes at the expense of embodied, present moment awareness. Try establishing technology boundaries, perhaps a phone-free hour before bed, a social media-free day each week, or designated periods where you engage with the physical world without digital interruption. Notice how different your experience becomes when you're not constantly splitting your attention. The world becomes more vivid, more immediate when we're fully present to it. As psychologist and author Mihai Csikszentmihalyi found in his research on flow states, our happiest moments typically come when we're fully absorbed in what we're doing rather than when our attention is fragmented. Second, practice embodiment. Disconnection often manifests as feeling separate from our physical selves, living in our heads rather than experiencing the fullness of our bodily existence. Regular practices that bring awareness back to the body can help ground you in the present moment and create a foundation for connection. This might involve mindful movement like yoga, tai chi, or dance. It could be as simple as taking a few minutes each day to scan through your body, noticing sensations without judgment. Or it might involve engaging your senses more intentionally, really tasting your food, feeling the texture of objects, listening deeply to sounds around you. As psychiatrist Bessel van der Kolk explains his research on trauma, the body keeps a score. Reconnecting with our physical experience helps integrate parts of ourselves that may have become separated through difficult experiences or habitual patterns of dissociation. Third, cultivate authentic relationships. Quality matters infinitely more than quantity when it comes to human connection. Research consistently shows that having even one or two relationships where you feel truly seen, accepted, and understood provides more psychological benefit than dozens of superficial connections. Creating deeper relationships requires vulnerability, the willingness to show your true self rather than a polished social persona. As researcher Brené Brown has demonstrated through her work, vulnerability isn't weakness. It's our most accurate measure of courage and the birthplace of connection. Start by identifying the relationships in your life that feel most nourishing and authentic. How might you invest more in these connections? What small steps could you take to be more vulnerable and real with people you trust? Remember that meaningful connection develops gradually through repeated moments of authenticity rather than through instant intimacy. Fourth, consider how you relate to the natural world. Humans evolved in close relationship with nature, yet modern life often separates us from this fundamental connection. Studies show that regular time in natural environments reduces stress, improves mood, and fosters a sense of belonging to something larger than ourselves. Eco-philosopher David Abram suggests that many of our modern psychological struggles stem from disconnection from a more than human world. By rekindling our relationship with nature, whether through gardening, hiking, sitting quietly in a park, or simply noticing the changing seasons, we can heal primordial disconnection that many of us barely recognize. Fifth, explore contemplative practices. Meditation, mindfulness, prayer, or other contemplative traditions offer pathways to experience inner connection directly. While these practices can initially highlight our separation, as we notice how constantly our minds pull us away from present experience, with consistent practice, they often lead to profound experiences of connection. As meditation teacher John Kabat-Zinn explains, mindfulness isn't about achieving a special state. It's about recognizing what's already here. Through patient attention, the apparent barriers between ourselves and experience gradually dissolve, revealing a more unified field of awareness. This doesn't require belief in any particular spiritual system, just a willingness to investigate your experience with open curiosity. 6. Consider seeking therapeutic support, especially if your disconnection stems from trauma. Approaches like somatic experiencing, EMDR, internal family systems therapy, or other trauma-informed modalities can help integrate experiences that may have created patterns of disconnection. A skilled therapist can provide a safe relationship where disconnected parts of yourself can gradually be welcomed back into awareness. 7th, examine your relationship with meaning and purpose. Viktor Frankl, psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, observed that those who maintain a sense of meaning even in the most horrific circumstances showed remarkable resilience. Finding purpose doesn't necessarily mean grand aspirations. It might involve simple acts of creativity, service to others, or engaging with questions that matter deeply to you. When we connect our daily actions to values and meanings that resonate with us, even ordinary moments can take on a sense of significance. This orientation toward meaning helps bridge the existential disconnection that can come from feeling that our lives lack purpose. Finally, be patient and compassionate with yourself. Healing disconnection takes time, especially if it stems from long-standing patterns or early experiences. You might have days of profound connection followed by periods where the old sense of separation returns. This isn't failure. It's the natural rhythm of growth and healing. Remember, too, that some degree of aloneness is part of the human condition. Even in our most connected moments, we each have unique experiences that others can never fully know. The poet Rainer Maria Rilke suggested that love consists in this, that two solitudes protect and touch and greet each other. Perhaps true connection isn't about eliminating the space between us, but about honoring it while still reaching across. It's also worth considering that your experience of disconnection might actually be pointing you toward an important life direction. Many healers, artists, philosophers, and visionaries report feeling fundamentally different from others. This sense of separation often motivates them to create bridges, whether through art, ideas, or compassionate action, that help others navigate similar experiences. Your disconnection might be inviting you to develop gifts that our world desperately needs. The very sensitivity that makes you feel separate might also give you unique insight into human suffering and the capacity to help others feel less alone. What might change if you viewed your disconnection not as a problem to fix, but as a potential source of wisdom and contribution? As we come to the close of our exploration, I want to leave you with this thought. Connection isn't something we achieve once and for all. It's a continual practice, a returning again and again to presence, to openness, to the vulnerability of being human among humans, and a living being among the living earth. Each time you notice your disconnection, each moment you become aware of that glass wall between yourself and life, you have an opportunity. That awareness itself is the beginning of the bridge. By gently turning toward your experience rather than resisting it, you create space for new possibilities to emerge. I'd love to hear about your experiences with disconnection and connection. What resonated with you from our conversation today? What practices have helped you feel more connected to yourself, to others, or to the world around you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your insight might be exactly what another viewer needs to hear. If you found value in this exploration, please consider subscribing to the Wisdom of Human Nature channel for more conversations about the depths and complexities of being human. And if you know someone who might benefit from this discussion, sharing a video could be a beautiful act of connection in itself. Remember, your disconnection doesn't define you. It's simply one part of your human experience. With awareness, compassion, and patience, you can gradually build bridges of connection your heart naturally seeks. Thank you for your presence here today.